All right, folks, Vitek here from Wani, and with us today we have one and only Daniel Cavanagh of ANATHEMA. How are you doing today?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thank you for accepting me on the program. I loved India when we visited, so it's very nice to connect to India
Absolutely.
again.
Same here, and you just got a month left for the release of the Optimist. And I don't want to start the interview with this, but I was heartbroken today when I came to know that the album leaked online by one of the journalists from the metal community. So a sad day indeed for me as a journalist.
Yeah, well, it's obviously there won't be any legal proceedings, and I just felt that for a couple of hours it would be okay to say that this happened, because otherwise people just are anonymous and they get away with it, and I just thought, something that's not a small thing that you've done there, my good man. That's not small. You've taken our work that cost a small fortune to make and 1 year to write, and you just put it online and the whole world will have it in 6 hours, and it's like you can't fucking do that. So excuse my language, I shouldn't say.
No, I totally understand.
And so I just because all of the CDs have a code with the person's name inside the code, even if they make an audio copy, the code is still there. And I found out what his name was, and I made the decision to name him on Facebook for a couple of hours, and I took responsibility for that decision. So the responsibility for me, it falls on me to do that. Nobody asked me to do it. And then I took it off after 3 hours, and by that time, it was big news, And so people understand that, look, this is this is serious, Like, if the album is on a, after it's released, it's on YouTube, these things happen all the time. You accept that, that's modern life. The album's on streaming sites everywhere after the release, but to do it like a month before in that way, and for a journalist to do it, I just think it's wrong.
Absolutely. So that was kind of disappointing, because I was getting up for the interview and suddenly got a message from my friend that, hey, this is what happened, and I was heartbroken, because it's not a matter of how big a band is, how small a band is. Each and every band puts in so much effort and so much dedication, money into it, and then this happens. It is extremely disheartening.
What did you think of the message of exactly what happened? I mean, did it impact you, like what was written?
I am from the same background as that person, so to speak. I mean, we're all, yes. It's a very small community, that. It all comes full circle. So when I read that, for me, I could feel the pain in the words. It may not be just your words, but I'm sure the entire band feels the same about it.
Something like it, yes.
Exactly. So at that point of time, it made me realize that it's not just ANATHEMA, it's the whole music scene that's so corrupted, and we have some of those idiots in there who are ruining it, and that impacts everybody. That impacts you mainly, and it impacts us.
Totally. Dude, he didn't just give the CD to his mother or his wife. Yeah, he put the fucking thing online, and it was in Brazil within 10 minutes, and Russia, it's like, I just think there are lines you can't cross, and that was one of them. But it's been dealt with now, and I'm sure he's very sorry. It doesn't change the fact that the album is out there now, but it probably will be still it still will be a successful one, and maybe this kind of thing just brings people's attention to something that's quite serious. Music is difficult. It's very difficult to make a life in music, and we are not rich. We're not poor. We don't have other jobs. We only do music, but we're not rich. And it's just one of those things. It's just a matter of respect. After the release day, basically people will do what they want, and I accept it fully.
Absolutely, but this deserves that, because the record is so awesome. I mean, I've been listening it for literally a month now, and it's kind of become like a habit for me to kind of do a yoga session with ANATHEMA.
Oh, that's great. Do you do yoga with us? That's fantastic.
It's a meditative process, so to speak.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that stuff.
So that's wonderful, and how you guys have stylistically, changed over the years with great experimentation, be it weather systems, than you did with distant satellites. And I spoke to Vincent when you guys released Distant, and he told me the amount of experimentations you guys did with the electronic side of the band, which was really fantastic. And on this album, it's you guys have crafted an entirely new, still the sort of familiar sounding album that requires a lot of spins. It took me multiple spins to come to grips with it, but once I got it, it was bang on.
I think that's the story. It's like people don't. It's not instant. It's a bit of a strange album. It's quite dark. It's quite strange. It's very unusual, with the sound effects and the story and the music and the intensity. And, the darkness of the material, it's not easy for people to understand immediately. But I think, like you say, with enough time, it starts to reveal itself to people, I think, is how it is going. That seems to be the impression that I'm getting from everybody.
That sounds good. What was the source of inspiration that lets you guys experimenting a lot over the last, more than a decade now with the sound of Anathema that fans love?
Well, I think it's just the guys in the band, they have an imagination and they want to progress and move on. The bands that they love are very, experimental or they're very brave. I would say brave, like, in their musical outlook. They follow their heart and they use different tones and different textures. And they are an influence on us, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that John and Vincent and myself and all the guys, including Lee, have these influences in our bones. They're in our DNA. It's in our DNA to be this way, and it's just how we are. It's just a reflection of how we are. It's just honesty, I don't really know exactly why it happens, and I certainly don't know all of the influences that make it happen. But I think it's just in the character, the character of a band.
Absolutely. Do you fear backlash from fans? When you think of...
Yeah, you always get that. I've started to really actually to laugh at it now, because every time we did a change, they all wanted us to go back. When we did Alternative Floor, people were saying, go back to Silent Enigma. Then when we did Find Day to Exit, it was like, go back to Alternative 4. And then when we did We're Here Because We're Here, it was go back to Judgment, go back to, and it's like they all, I understand it. I mean, I think some bands, didn't do very well after their great albums. If you listen to, like, Load by Metallica, I just don't like that record. But the Black Album's great, so it's like, I understand, bands want to grow, and for the fans, they don't think the songwriting is as good as it used to be, or the tone or the intensity is not as good. And there it is, it's like, it is what it is. The band is what it is. The music is what it is. And I don't really listen to what they want anymore. I can't. It's too late now. I can't do it anymore. I kind of let go of all the rules now, more or less.
If there's a rule, break it. That's how the world moves on, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I mean, the final rule that I let go of on this album was the number of guitar songs that we have, because I was always worried that in the past, if we did not have enough guitar songs, people would fall away, because we were from such a intense metal background. But now I just finally said, look, I don't care anymore. It's like, it is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it. And it turns out that there's actually still quite a lot of intense parts on the album. The Springfield is heavy, and, the Optimist is heavy, and the first song, and fucking, there's a number of songs that are pretty intense and pretty heavy, so...
In fact, I was about to ask you that question, because you're starting this album with more like a sound of a crashing wave. And then we more head into leaving it behind. That's where the first guitar picking of, obviously you and Vincent begins, and that the album launched right there, a classic Anathema vibe, and obviously your vocals on it, and the drumming, the percussions on that are phenomenal. A perfect opener for upcoming shows, I guess. Would be great to start with this.
Yeah, I think we'll probably play the whole album, with a visual kind of film to accompany this, and a light show, a film too. And we will play the album, and that's probably what we'll do. And certainly that will be the first song, yes.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. And you guys, go into every different direction from anything you guys have done, on the Douglas as she sings on Close Your Eyes, which I can accurately call as a lounge jazz number. Kind of made me feel so good about the piano driven, the moody horn work, the light jazzy drumming. I could imagine the character sitting in a dim, smoky jazz club, probably sipping a drink while Lee's on stage singing to a very small crowd. An unexpected twist, but it works really well.
Oh, it's a very nice image. Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, one of the points of the album is to it allows people, it allows them to formulate their own visions, their own visuals, their own ideas of what's happening, and their own characters. It's kind of interactive. We don't say exactly what's going on here, so we don't say where that song was, if it's in a dream, if it's on the TV, or if he's at a club, or we just don't tell people, and it's up to them. And I like your vision. That's the first time I've heard it.
That's really
we did think
hear.
something like that. We thought it, obviously, when we were doing the jazz song. Excuse me, when we were doing it, we obviously thought about those 1940s kind of dark noir, kind of like spooky 3 a.m. jazz kind of tracks, or maybe a soundtrack to a film like Taxi Driver. But, and it's nice. It's nice to play with that kind of thing, especially for us because we never did it before.
Absolutely. I was trying to gather the lyrics as I've been listening to it. I could kind of feel the vibe behind it. The lyrics on the final song kind of sums up the theme of the album, if not your whole career. When Vincent sings, "They don't understand because they don't talk for me. They ain't no master plan. I came in to make peace. I'm only made to suffer. I only made to care." And it kind of powerfully builds that vibe, that the two characters of the drama, which comes back to start. I mean, you have this as a sequel to A Fine Day, so it kind of gives a very satisfying feeling, a perfect closing to the album.
Yeah, I like that song actually. But you have to understand that when John Douglas wrote this song and Vincent helped him, they were not thinking about a character in a story. John's writing about his life. As I did, on other songs on the album, for example, Springfield, I'm writing about my life. So when the songs are written, we're not trying to write for a character. We're writing about ourselves, and after it's written, we give it to the character. And it fits and it works because we say it works.
I understand. Yeah. I gotta ask this question to you, and I'm sure you and Vincent would have probably a common answer for this. Is I'm just one out of 0.0001% of your fan base worldwide, but when I listen to Anathema, and I've spoken to countless other fans who share the same vision and the same feeling, that it has an entirely new meaning in our life. It kind of makes you go, makes you inspire. It could be, it's mellow. I get that. It's soothing. Nothing has to be too heavy to kind of inspire you, but your music has changed lives.
That's a big thing to say. I'd say, I never really think about this stuff. It doesn't, in my day-to-day life, it doesn't come up in my consciousness. So it's interesting, and I'm grateful for you to tell me that these things are happening in the world, because it gives me some hope that nice things are happening, and maybe that our place here has a purpose. There's a purpose behind what we're doing. But admittedly, I don't really think about that stuff when I'm at home, obviously. So it's nice to hear. It's very nice to hear, and I'm very grateful and very humbled.
Now, if you had to sum up The Optimist in a sentence, What would you say?
This is a great question. This is a great question. Okay, let me think. In a sentence, I would say, how did I get here? I would say this.
Yeah.
The lyric from Springfield is probably one of the heartstrings of the album, because it's not a very. It doesn't have so much resolution. There's a lot of trouble in the album, in the songs. You know, there's a lot of, you know, darker tones and difficult moments, and so the Springfield lyric, I would say, you know, it's good because it's like a question. You know, it's questioning what happened here. When I wrote that, by the way, I was not thinking of a character in a story. I was writing about my own life, how I felt in my life at that time.
Thanks again. You know, an honor having a chat. Good luck with the release. And I'm sure this one is going to touch lives just as much as your previous catalog have done.
Thank you so much. You're a gentleman.